So in the first chapter of the book, Design Your Thinking, we spoke about what is design thinking. I gave you a very simple flow process of design thinking, a definition of design thinking, when is it useful, when it is not useful, and how it is different from other models of problem solving. And once again, I have to iterate that don't go back thinking that design thinking is the in thing. No, it is just one of the tools in your repository of problem solving. Don't flush the remaining tools and replace it with design thinking. Not worth it. You must be equipped with all the models which are available to you. So chapter 2 talks about why design thinking now. Suddenly, why we're talking of design thinking. Now, if you really read the history of thinking, right from the work of some of the artists, some of the industrial designers, product designers, architects, and even people who are been into designing organizations like Herbert Simon, you will realize that design thinking as a term has been in existence for almost half a century now. In some way or the other, we've been talking about design. But to bring design thinking to the realm of business problem solving, that is recent. Even if I go back to IDEO, which was started in 70s by uh, David Kelly, IDEO for a very long time was limiting itself to product design. Okay, they designed the famous mouse for Apple and a lot of other stuff which we have taken for granted. But only at the turn of the century did this concept from the world of product design and industrial design find its way to business problems. And one of the pivotal moments was the institutionalization of the Stanford Design School, and later a couple of other B schools started picking this thread up. And I think it is good that we are talking of design thinking in Indian context now because, as I said before, this is India's century and we need to be creative. So the first big reason why we're talking of design thinking now is because product and services have blurred into experiences. So initially design thinking was about designing clever products. And then we moved from designing products to designing services, okay, like banking services, airlines, concierge, or hospitality, or even a hotel or a hospital, etc. But now we have realized that whether you are talking of a product or you're talking of a service, at the end of the day, it's the experience which the consumer is worried about. So we have really moved from the world of product design and service design to designing those experiences. And I think that is where human centricity is very critical. And I don't have to belabor this point because what do you do on the weekends, right? Even if you are buying a product when you're shopping, it's the experience which you remember. Am I right? And unless that experience is designed in a very thoughtful manner, you come back with a bad taste. The second reason why design thinking is in vogue now is because problems have become multifaceted. If I have to really think about a multifaceted problem, it would be, or a wicked problem, it would be that why people in urban settings don't cast vote. Now I'm right now sitting in IIM Bangalore campus and elections are approaching, general elections are approaching. The last election that we had, the turnout for urban Bangalore was a dismal, I guess, 55%. Now, Bangaloreans are quite there on Twitter and elsewhere talking about social issues, but when it comes to casting the vote, we generally don't show up, even if there is a holiday. Why? Now, this is a very complex problem. It is so multifaceted that no one solution could be useful here, and that's the reason we haven't really managed to solve the problem. We can incentivize people, we can make booths accessible, we can socialize the importance of casting a vote, we can bring the commitment as a duty and a right, etc., etc. We can even make it incentivized in the form of giving away something, but still the turnout is very poor, and it's poor than in the rural settings, in fact. Now, these kind of problems are very, very appropriate for design thinking. So at office, some of the very good problems from design thinking perspective could be that why people don't feel collaborating when it comes to collaborating with new people who have just joined in. Or how do we get people to collaborate when they're working from home? Now, these are wicked problems. And since we are increasingly facing such problems in our lives, design thinking can be a go-to method. Another reason is that companies are now becoming B2C. So this B2B, which is business to business, versus B2C, which is business to consumer, kind of a classification of companies, is in my opinion a slightly misplaced classification, because frankly speaking, at the end of the line there is somebody consuming your product. Even if you're a B2B, okay, suppose I'm selling a heavy machinery to another organization, don't you think that at the end of the line there is a human being who is using my machinery? And if my machinery is not focused on that human being in terms of convenience, utility, ease, safety, access, maintainability, etc., I fail. So just because my product is not visible in the market as much as a B2C product is, that does not mean that I must not care about humans. So I think instead of calling yourself as a B2B or a B2C organization, or B2G in certain cases, which is business to government, it's a useful idea to think yourself in terms of B2H, business to human. And as long as you are able to keep that human in perspective, that it's a human being who we are interested in talking to, I think you can really solve a lot of problems. And in this book, I have given a lot of examples of companies who have gone ahead and done that. Okay. Another reason why design thinking is important is widespread digitization of human engagement. So, can we really take digital away from our lives? And the answer seems to be no. I'm not very happy about it, however, but answer seems to be no. There is hardly any part of our life, whether it is about engaging with an organization, an employer, an employee, a shopkeeper, etc., that we can take digital away. You just can't take digital away. Even for the most normal interactions, you are using some QR code to make a payment at a kirana store. At a mall, you are giving your phone number to a database. Elsewhere, I mean, there is so much of technology which is happening right behind you that you are oblivious to it. And when the analog world and the digital world meet, if not collide, when they meet, you'll be very careful about what kind of experience the human is given. A human would still love an analog experience. So that's the reason why in Amazon we still have a cart, right? Because cart gives us the feeling of the analog world. Still we have the tactile touch and feel of many things which are at the background very digital, or the humble watch, right? Regardless of the technology which is going behind, people still haven't gotten away from the hand movements, isn't it? So even the digital watches still have to possibly show you the hand, because it sort of leaves you with a sense of comfort. So I think when digitalization happens, we will be very careful about how the customer is perceiving your services and goods. A reason why design thinking is equally critical is because I think the customer has become very knowledgeable and very demanding and very quite restless at it. In the sense that for a long time it was believed that there is a neat division of labor. The producer, manufacturer and supplier know the solution, and the customer knows the problem, or at least so we think. But that is no longer true. It may so happen that the customer does not know what is her problem, what is her necessity. And it may so happen that the customer knows what is the solution. The only thing you have to do is possibly to enable the customer to think and conjure up the solution. So if you can allow the customer to go through the journey by herself in terms of giving the right tools and embracing the customer right into your product development life cycle, that is where you would have fewer chances of getting completely off the grid. And that's where I think design thinking is very useful, and this is complemented with widespread adoption of tools. So let's look at content creation. I'm creating this content for YouTube right now. All I'm using is my smartphone, microphone, and I'm good, a tripod, and I'm pretty much good. So that's the world of consumerism. The producer and the consumers have become the same. And because of digital spreading of tools, it is very important for you now to start working with your customers. And you don't even know who is your customer, frankly speaking. The classic definition of customer is truly classic and pretty much orthodox. It's very critical that now you go ahead and try to allow people to express themselves and then tap into those expressions to think of your new products and services. So it's highly likely that the next big idea about your product or from your company may actually come from outside your company. So as long as you are humble enough that you're listening to people, I think you should be pretty much good. And all these talent hunt shows and the content which is available on YouTube or all the social media platform is a great example that entertainers need not be the entertainers of the past era. And finally, it's about the business models. Because with the advent of internet and the proliferation of marketplaces, now we have so many business models available. It's no longer the fact that you have to make a product and sell it at a certain profit to make revenues and to really grow big. Not necessary. There are so many amazing business models which are available. And Alexander Osterwalder's book, Business Model Generation, and his business model canvas is a great input for all of us to try and understand that how all these business models can play out. Now, when you have so many business models out there in the marketplace, and to add to it, if you have the market itself throwing so many surprises at you, it's first of all very important to be humble, okay, and not think that I know it all. You have to really be much more participative than what you have been used to. But I think with so many business models coming into the bearing, it gives you a lot of flexibility on how you can play. So I can license, I can have subscription, I can have ads, I can have pay as you go, and so many other business models. So, and that's how people sitting right at their home creating some clever content are pretty much having a good run. They don't have to necessarily go and join an organization and work 8-9 hours a day. With all that possibilities opening up, if you are not really embracing the change, you are just getting left behind. And I think design thinking, without being preachy, I would say that it allows you to be a little bit much more inclusive, open-minded, and expansive in terms of how you get problems identified and get problems solved. So that is your chapter 2 on why design thinking now. And one of the interesting things which I share in this book is about beard, how things change very quickly. So how did it happen that suddenly a whole range of Indians started having beard, men, okay? And not of a particular age, across age group I have seen people having beard. How did this happen? Now, it's not evolutionary, for example, but it is very mimetic. It's very mimetic behavior. When the men in blue Indian cricket team guys started having beard, a lot of youngsters took on beard. And suddenly companies which are into the shaving business like Gillette have found it difficult to get their customers. Now, it was not a mistake of Gillette that their blades were costly or they were not doing a good job, but suddenly the market has shifted. So instead of shaving, people are actually shaving their head, they're going bald. So both having a beard and going bald has become a fashion. Whose mistake? I don't think there's anybody's mistake. But as an organization, I need to keep pace with my customer. And that keeping pace with my customer is an extremely critical aspect of the business. And that is where I think design thinking can really be very useful to you. So that's your chapter number 2. So I hope this was useful to you.